everybody, it is Calxiyn here. If you guys enjoyed this video, you guys should become patrons over on Patreon to support the channel, but you guys should subscribe and make sure that you guys follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch to watch me stream. So today we are going to be talking about, so I guess Team RWBY's at like a panel or something, or they're at a convention in LA. I don't know which convention it is, but they spilled a little tea during the panel. I don't think you were here for this video, but basically a couple days ago, Barbara posted on Twitter, and like the gist of her tweet was basically like, hey, if someone's enjoying something, don't just like, you know...
Well, that's like that with everything.
Bother them or whatever. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Don't like come out of the woodworks and be like, actually...
Yeah, exactly. And so that was it. And then she also posted something about like, oh, and remember voice actors aren't their characters and like, you know, stuff like, basically just stuff like that. That was the gist. If you guys didn't see that video, you guys should go watch it. But basically, a couple of things happened. Okay, so the first thing was, people just took that wildly out of context and was like, oh, see, RWBY can't handle criticism. They're denying critics the right to have their voice. And I'm just like, no.
No one's stopping you.
Because
like
what they're saying is, and I use this analogy, and apparently people had a problem with this. If you and me were having a conversation in real life, right? And someone just walked up to us, even if we were in public, and started, like, spouting their opinion on what we are enjoying sucks ass, right? Like, that is not
and people
social
often,
etiquette. Like,
people
that is
will
not
often do that on Twitter to them.
Exactly, and so that's what I'm sort of saying. Not just to them, but also to other fans that are expressing their joy, right? And so I think that's what Barbara is getting at. Like, if people are expressing their joy on Twitter, just because Twitter is a public place doesn't mean that you should just... you know, insert yourself in a conversation where you don't belong.
But should you?
Exactly, because you can do basically anything, but your actions have consequences. You understand what I'm saying? And so, like, apparently people didn't seem to connect the fact that, yeah, it's on Twitter, and yeah, Twitter's public, but at the same time, so is, like, Facebook. And, like, if one of you guys... you know, came over to, like, have a conversation with me on my personal Facebook when Facebook, you know, things have contexts, right? Some people use their Twitter personally compared to, like, public figures that obviously use it publicly. So the sort of analogy I used to explain that was, like, if one of you guys creeped on me on my, on my public Facebook account, even though it's public, I use my Facebook to sort of friend people from school or, like, my family, right? So, like, even though it's public, it's still a little weird, right? Even though Twitter is public, everybody's different Twitter account sort of has, like,
I feel like this is slightly off topic.
Right? It is, but it's not, because this is sort of going back to what Barbara was saying the other day. I just wanted to give the full context to sort of the Barbara situation from the other day, because now Barbara is spilling some tea again, which is like... we appreciate a queen. And so this is who posted the video, Bumblebee Forever, on Twitter,
I feel like
very much appreciate.
You've been appropriating a lot of shit you've heard in James Charles videos.
What do you mean?
Because you're saying tea
I don't
and
watch
honey.
James Charles, though!
Well, why? I came in this room a few days ago and his fucking face was on the screen.
I know, because he got caught in some drama, and so it wasn't his video.
Anyways,
it was
please
somebody
turn on the
dragging
video.
him. Anyways. Let's just listen to what Barbara has to say and the tea that she
has an idea of where they want it to go and it doesn't match up necessarily with that, and then maybe gets upset with us or the writers of the show, and it's hard to address because we want everyone to enjoy the show and to be able to see themselves.
Thanks, Twitter, for this horizontal.
It's going a certain way based off what the story is taking it. So yeah, nothing bothers me too much unless it becomes really defensive or mean or aggressive.
They can't just enjoy the ride a little bit.
Exactly, and like there's a difference between criticism and hate, and that's something kind of we have to balance the line of a little bit.
Fans transfer into the hate zone really easily.
Very easily, yes.
Alright. Erin says something, but that doesn't matter. I'm just kidding. She says that it's basically weird how people ship Blake and Adam together, and that sort of bugs her a little bit, because Adam's like a creepy abuser. So that's the video.
Yeah.
And so we don't need to go over what Erin said. So let's just talk about that, because I feel people have just lost the plot. You know what I mean? Like, they just lost, like, we all started somewhere, you know, as RWBY fans, if that makes sense, and I feel like I don't mean the plot of the show, I just mean, like, the plot of your life. You understand what I'm saying? Like, the plot of all of our lives, if that makes sense. Not to be that over dramatic. Okay, but here's a good example, alright? I was watching...
Some people would just say the point, and then it would communicate.
I was watching Gordon Ramsay last night, and he said that the restaurant owner had lost the plot because of what he was doing with his restaurant. I feel like this is sort of like the same thing. It's like, people wildly took out of context what Barbara was was saying in her tweets. And she basically sort of reiterates it again. And so I've been saying this for a while too, is that people had this idea of where certain character arcs were supposed to go, and now they're pissy and whiny because they didn't get what they wanted. And so it's like, y'all have the right to be upset if you wanted X and then B happen, right?
You lose
but at the same time,
some of that when it's deeply questionable, like Aaron said, when people desperately shipped Blake and Adam.
Yeah, or whatever, right? But at the same time, it's sort of like, just because you didn't get what you wanted, like, it doesn't mean that what we got is bad, right? Like, people sort of associate, oh, I didn't get this, and so whatever we got is bad. Does that make sense? It's like, I cannot like something, and I've explained this before, I cannot like where they have gone in the show, but accept that this certain point is good writing, if that makes sense. Like, I initially, right, I didn't like the idea of Ozpin and Salem being lovers, right? Like, I hated it. I think a lot of us hated it. But then we got it, and a lot of us were like,
that's the best part of
well,
the yeah.
exactly, right? And so it's one of those things where it's like, initially, we didn't like where it was going, but we saw it and we're like, okay, we can accept that, even if we didn't want that to happen initially, or maybe we still don't necessarily like the idea of, you know, them being together or whatever. It's sort of one of those things where it's like, well, we got it and it was actually good. And so the opposite is true too. Just because we got, like, if we got something and it was good writing, you're allowed not to like it, but it doesn't automatically mean that it's bad. Just because you didn't get what you want. And I feel like with the Adam situation, because that's basically, I think, what Barbara's referring to, right, is what was done with Adam, people didn't like because it wasn't what they wanted, right? And what was done with Blake and Yang to some extent, because here's the weird thing, okay? Some people say that they don't want Yang to be with anybody because they themselves want to fuck Yang. And I'm like, you understand that Yang is fictional. We all understand that, don't we? Because that's people's sort of justification, because it's kind of one of two things, right?
Who has said that to
People
you?
have commented that on my
People?
videos. Yes, multiple people, like multiple people, multiple different accounts. I don't know if they're all the same person.
I've seen some weird
but I'm just
shit,
saying,
but
right?
that is out
and
there.
And so, in terms of the shipping stuff, right? People,
Next time you see that, please take a screenshot.
I know, I really should. But yeah, so people don't want Blake and Yang together for a bunch of reasons, right? Like, some people ship Black Sun, and so Yang and Blake being together wouldn't be where they want it to go, right? And then on the other side, people want Team Ruby to stay a sisterhood, which I'm just like, why do they have to stay a sisterhood, but all the other teams get to fuck each other? Okay, that's my question. Okay.
Yeah, there was a lot of intermingling within Juniper.
I'm like, I don't know what I'm like. I'm just like, Juniper and Stark all fucked each other, and yeah, it didn't work out very well for any of them, but it happened, okay?
It worked okay with Nora and Ren.
Yeah, basically.
Certainly not Stark.
Nah, not them at all. But yeah, you understand what I mean? And so then there's sort of the Black Sun thing of it, which again is that's just people sort of whining over not getting what they wanted in that case, right? Because I think if Bumblebee is well written, it's sort of one of those things where it's like, yeah, I get being upset that your ship didn't happen, but you have to accept that just because you don't like it doesn't mean that it's bad writing or doesn't mean that it's bad storytelling or whatever. And on the flip side of that, the people that are like, but if the girls date somebody else, I can't fuck them, or that's basically the reason why they don't want Yang to be a lesbian. I think somebody said specifically, they don't mind if she's bi, because then she can still fuck you, apparently. Like, that's what somebody justified it as. But if she's a lesbian, then they can't imagine themselves having sex with her.
Whenever someone throws at you this bizarre and I guess I really hit it on the head of the nail with bizarre logic, you should really take a screen cap of that.
I know, I'm pretty sure it's somewhere. I'm pretty sure I've replied to it a couple times, but I think after a while I have started deleting them. But trust me, Hunter, like, you have seen some of the comments that we have gotten on our YouTube videos. Has anything been too wild?
But that would be like definitely top 5 material.
Anyway, and so I understand what Barbara's trying to say is basically what I'm getting at, because that's just been the whole theme of Volume 6, is that people just didn't get what they wanted, and so now they're upset. It doesn't matter if it's bad writing, it doesn't matter if it's good writing, but everybody's like,
and not
well,
only
I
that,
didn't want Adam to turn into the abusive ex-boyfriend, and I'm just like, well, I'm sorry that you didn't, like, see that this is where it was going, but people have to sort of, you know, calm down with their expectations a little bit, because it's like, if you expected Adam to be anything other than the abusive ex-boyfriend after Volume 4, maybe volume 5 at the latest. I'm like, I got news for you, but I don't think
I feel like
it was realistic
I feel like
to
even
hope for that, if that
before
makes
that,
sense.
there
I mean,
was-
yeah, before that, it was clear to me. Right? I'm pretty sure it was clear to you. I don't understand why to other people it wasn't crystal fucking clear, but that's none of my business, okay? But I'm just saying eventually, right, after volume 3, because people were like, oh, but there weren't any signs of that in volume 3, and I'm just like, okay, we can talk about that later, but that's none of my business. But I'm just saying, like, after volume 4, if y'all didn't get, like, the fucking picture by then, I don't really know what to tell you. Is it volume 4 that Sun and Blake have the conversation, or is it volume 5?
Even volume 3 when he attacks.
I know, even volume 3, but people
volume 2
about
when she's
volume
like
3.
staring at the wall and being like, he changed. Like, okay, so this is a story that's like kind of about the same thing.
Sure,
I
go
saw
ahead.
an interview with George R.R. Martin, who
Right.
wrote Game of Thrones, and there's a character, Renly Baratheon, who's gay. And some people, having read the books and then gone on to watch the show, they were like, George, they were tweeting him like, some bad happened, like, they made Renly gay. Renly was gay in the books.
Right.
It's just a little subtle, and people didn't see that. So when it actually became clear on the show that, like, yes, he's currently receiving oral sex from a man, they were shocked. I feel like the last season is the watching Renly Baratheon receive oral sex in Rivia.
Yeah,
it's like, what do you mean he's abusive? I'm like,
or what do you mean they're gay? It's sort of like...
Or it's not even that, but specifically about the Adam thing, or like
I know
even about
the
the gay
thing,
thing. It's like there was possibilities.
I'm just saying, like we have been new. Is
There's
that what people
been,
say?
like,
We have known
interviews.
the entire time.
There's been interviews and like in After Volume 1, like Aaron doing a jig when they were talking
and
about
all the way
Bumblebee,
back,
like,
Monty did say, like, listen, the girls are gonna explore themselves, like about like the LGBT characters and stuff. The girls are gonna explore themselves. Right? You know what I mean? They're gonna explore themselves and who they are and all that sort of stuff. Every character, hopefully, is gonna go through that because that's just life. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so it's like, when people are like, well, Monty wanted them to be a sisterhood, not to fuck each other. And I'm like, well,
But did he
Monty didn't seem to
specifically
have
say
a
that?
problem with all the other teams fucking each other, so I don't think he had a problem. No, I don't think so. It's like...
Which, that's okay
problem
if you
is-
because like the idea of Ruby as a sisterhood, like, yeah, that makes a certain degree of sense. Like,
Yeah.
I'm okay with that interpretation of it. I've seen that interpretation a lot. But it's okay to have that, and it's okay if you're like, oh, well,
I think here's the other problem,
be
is that
slightly
people make up
disappointed.
Monty urban legends, like
Yes,
things that he
that is
said
true.
that he just didn't say, and
Yes.
it's hard to find sources for it, and all that's, like, it's hard because the internet is old, like, it's just an old place, and, like, it's hard to find certain things.
Or it's just like, did
Twitter
Monty
or
want
whatever.
that, or did you want that? Because you wanted that. Monty never said that.
Yeah, or
And
like,
also, yeah, no,
whatever,
it's-
and so
yeah.
it's sort of like, at the end of the day, right, I think that when it comes, and here's my other argument for the sisterhood thing. I know this is sort of off topic to what Barbara was saying, but why can they not fuck each other and be a sisterhood? I know that's a weird question, but sisterhood does not imply to me like an actual sister thing. You know what I mean? When somebody says a sisterhood, I think of like a sorority, like in university.
Maybe.
Like a
Sure, women,
you know what I mean?
women
supporting women.
Yes.
An all-female
band.
friendship group, a like sorority,
A
right?
band.
Because this is off topic too, but I was watching the Legally Blonde musical, and that's what they say. They say, you know, they're bonds of sisterhood in the sorority. And so when people say sisterhood, I've never thought about it being
exclude.
similar, like a relationship to my own sister.
I guess that's
okay, because
also
I would
true.
say that I am I would say that being friends with people is different than being family to some extent. And I feel like it's better that Team Ruby is not necessarily the family part and they are more the friends part. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Like, there are certain ways that I act with my sister that I would never act with one of my friends, but that's a good thing. Because, like, my friends and I have a deeper bond in some areas than other areas, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Anyway. I think about that a lot, and I don't understand, because when people say sisterhood, I do think like
What's
a
it-
sorority,
but
or like
yeah,
an
but-
all-female sort of.
Yeah, but I could
you know,
also see like
thing together.
I think an interpretation of that where people don't fuck is also somewhat valid.
Yeah, I know.
And I think the issue
I think
that
it's valid. I
Barbara
think
is
that
getting
it's-
at here is
yeah.
that she's not upset that people are upset at the show. Like, everyone can be upset with the show.
Yeah.
It doesn't go, that's why we have fan fiction. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the idea that people will then be hostile and be hateful.
And everybody can have their own interpretations, but it's like,
Yeah.
if the show deviates
But if
off
it's
your path,
directed
that's
at
what
someone.
fan fiction is sort of for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or AUs or whatever you want to whatever you want to call them.
It's the idea
to clarify, the Sisterhood interpretation is fine.
Or even
I'm just
when you
saying,
talk
in the
about
canon of the show, it is clearly no longer there.
It's
right?
when you attack
if you
some
think that
people,
the Sisterhood part can't fuck, right, or whatever. And so that's sort of what I'm saying, is that the show has sort of deviated from your previous interpretation or your ideas, and maybe your interpretation was wrong. I know that that's shocking, but it's sort of like, not all interpretations are correct. It annoys me when everybody...
Or turn out to be the same.
Yeah.
Or not only interpretations, like assumptions.
Yeah,
assumptions for the future of the show.
I'm just saying, like, I hate when people are like, well, my interpretation is valid, it's death of the author, and I'm just like, that only goes so far.
Yeah, death of the author only goes so far.
I'm just saying, like, it's
I have some pretty solid disagreements.
How many different ways are there to, like, interpret something, I guess, like Hamlet? You know, the themes are pretty clear cut out there, and I'm sure you can find some wild out there interpretation, but it's like, there are the ones that are clearly prominent and valid, right? And so, like, I think that some interpretations are definitely more valid than others, and so that's why I'm sort of like, if y'all could not tell that Adam was going down a certain path from a certain volume, I think that's, like, your own bias blocking, like, an objective view at how you could interpret.
And even if you do interpret like that, I think her main point is don't be a dick to the creators.
Well, yeah, or not just to the creators, to anyone, because that's, I think, what Barbara was getting at before in her first tweets, is that she wasn't talking about hate directed to Kruby. I think she was talking about other people attacking other fans.
Although certainly don't attack Kruby as well. Certainly Kruby will get more hate concentrated, because they're the face of the brand.
I think Barbara did try to, like, direct it in a way where she really did mean fans talking to other fans more so than people directing things at the creator. Except for the voice actor thing, because that's the other problem, is that, like, people see Barbara as Yang, and it's like,
she has both hands.
Not just that, but it's
if you punch her, she won't go fire. She'll just be a little upset with you.
A little upset.
Maybe a lot upset.
Maybe a lot upset. Yeah.
That's another thing you probably shouldn't do, is
hit
assault random
in general.
voice. I suppose in general.
I'm just saying. Yeah. Anyway. So yeah, I think that was the other core of, like, Barbara's tweet, because the second part was like, voice actors aren't their characters, and sort of all that stuff like
Which
that.
I should fucking hope not, because, like, some of you guys were nice, and some of those characters are not particularly nice.
No, they're not. Like, I'm sure the guy who plays Adam is, like, a nice guy.
I'm sure he's a swell guy.
But, like...
Not Adam.
Not Adam. But yeah, so those are our thoughts. I mean... a little disorganized thoughts, but I just have a lot, like, because every time something happens, every time the voice actors commentate on something, somebody just goes for the jugular on them for no reason and, like, purposely misunderstands the point that they're trying to get across to make it like, oh, Kruby can't handle hate. Like, no, that's not what they're saying, okay? And so, I don't know, I just get annoyed, and then I think of all the comments I've gotten on all the things I've seen.
You
whether
should
it's
scream.
Whether it's a Sisterhood thing, or, like, I can't fuck Yang if she's a lesbian. Like, all of those things.
The fact that you did not screen cap that really upsets me.
I'm gonna find it. If I find it, I'll link a tweet.
Did you delete it? Or did
I don't know, to be honest.
That sounds like something you would have deleted.
I'm gonna look for it and see if I can find it, and if I find it, it'll be in a tweet under this video, if that makes sense. Like, I'll post a link to the tweet. Okay? I think that's fair. So, yeah. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed, and we will see you guys later. Bye. Where did I lie, Hunter? Tell me where I lied.
It's not as outright.
So basically, this comment started, right, with, like, them, you know, not being a fan of Yang being a lesbian or whatever, or Blake being a lesbian, and then, like, you know, they keep going. If Yang and Blake are confirmed bisexual, I would definitely be happy about that, because, you know, I think Yang is hot, and she's my #1 favorite RWBY character. I wouldn't like it if she's a lesbian, and then they sort of go on about scenes.
Which, first off, periods, commas. But secondly...
So basically, you don't want Yang to be a lesbian because you want to fuck her, right?
She didn't say fuck her, but that's still pretty questionable.
I mean, I said that. That's me replying to that comment. But I'm saying, based off of this response, I'm just saying.
You could definitely infer that. I don't mean to
call this dude out because this comment is 7 months old, but, like, y'all really thought that nobody's ever said this? Like, this is one of the first one, like... because I looked up Yang lesbian, right, and so there are a couple other people that have just commented about how happy they would be, but, like, literally, this is one of the first ones in my little scrolly thing, alright? So I wasn't playing. People say this more than you ever want them to, All right?
That, it wasn't as bad as you made it sound like, but that's still pretty questionable.
I mean,
he didn't
that's
say
how I
because I wouldn't
interpreted
fuck her.
it. That's how
but
I internalized
because I think she's pretty
okay?
hot and she is number one. I'm like, but I guess, you know, I don't find her hot if she's
I can't find
gay.
her hot if she's gay or
What if
something,
it's just
right?
like, it's like, well, now I feel bad because if she's a lesbian, she's not interested in me.
Well, yeah, but
That's still pretty questionable.
because the only reason you would care if somebody's interested in you is to be in a
she wouldn't want to
relationship
fuck
or
me.
something.
Like that'd be a little. Yeah, you know what? You know what, Cal?
That's what I'm
glad you saved that, cause like, goddamn, that's.
I would never lie to you guys about a comment that I've gotten. If I say that I have gotten a comment saying something, I can 100% guarantee that it was something that was said.
Wasn't word for word, but fuck, that was still pretty bad.
Okay, I'm glad we had this talk. Anyways, we can go for real.
Play handshake.
Alright, bye guys. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you to all of our wonderful patrons and our YouTube membership members who have joined using the join button that is under this video or on my channel page. You guys may be wondering, what do patrons and YouTube membership members get? YouTube membership members for $5 get access to my Discord server, they get a bunch of cool emotes, and they get early access to all of my videos. $10 patrons on Patreon get early access that is more than a week in advance, so sometimes we do videos like weeks in advance or even a month in advance, and so they'll get those videos way earlier, right? And they also are able to make requests, and so if they want us to do a shipping video or a reaction to an anime or to cover some sort of theory or to discuss something, they can ask for it and we will do it. On Patreon, $5 is early access a week in advance and $1 is for the Discord server. I hope that that helps. Again, thank you to our wonderful patrons over on Patreon, and I hope that you guys will join up soon. I will see you guys later. Bye.